All right, everyone. Hi. I wanted to have this Living and Dying Ambassadors call. One, because some of y'all took the class before we changed it from practitioners to ambassadors. So yes, if you're here, if you're in our groups, you are an ambassador. Welcome. It's really good to see y'all. And some of you sent in some questions and things to talk about, so I will address those as well. Thank you so much. I wanted to give y'all a chance to send in questions to check in. Since we don't have like monthly classes and monthly meetups, it's been a lot of things going on in the world. I wanted at least every once in a while, I was thinking maybe once a quarter for us to check in and as fellow ambassadors to remind you of some of the ways that we can use this body process to give you the chance to ask any questions and also to provide you with some additional facilitation about whatever's showing up in your world, in your life. And so the ambassador, it's not just about you're an ambassador because you took the class, yes, but it's also this willingness to actually talk about living and dying and be aware of living and dying and creation and destruction, and where people are killing their bodies or other people are projecting that they should kill their bodies and all these different things, and inviting people, including yourself, please include yourself, to more. And this body process is a wonderful way of doing that. And then also use every other tool in your arsenal. Like, this is just adding on to the tools. I hope you've been enjoying our discussions about the element of living. That's been a wonderful up leveling that's been adding to the classes lately, to have this discussion of the archetypes of living and dying, or the elements of living in these classes. And as there's not a session now that I receive or give that they're not there. It's just as soon as you start playing around with them, they're like, oh, wait, you're willing to be aware of us. Here we go. And it just increases the amount of energy. It increases the amount of what we can invite people to. And man, does it make it so much gentler and so much more nurturing to our bodies when we're acknowledged that we be these elements of living, and that's what we're inviting people to. And we're asking them, hey, would you like exuberant living your way? Yeah. Well, here's some of these elements if you'd like it. And then seeing which ones they're willing to actually receive from and create with. Because it's not about, oh, here they all are. Boof, here you have it. That's not very kind to their bodies. Remember, we always ask each person's body what's going on and what they can receive. Is it a yes? Is it a no? Do we go here? Do we wait? That whole thing. So I've been trying to remember to pop in the videos after I do them into our messenger group, so you don't have to go all the way into Facebook, but they are in the Soaring Beyond Definition group. We're doing them weekly on Mondays at 10 a.m. New York time. And so far we've talked about the star seed, the door openers, the dreamland. Today was about shuffling the cards. There's a poll where you can vote on them. And I put a new poll this weekend. So if you voted before, please go in again and vote again, because the polls expire after a while. I don't use polls much, so I forget about it. Usually it's not relevant. And so if you would like to express your interest in learning about a couple more of these, select all the ones that are really pinging for you and pulling at you. You don't have to pick just one. And then whichever one has the most votes each week is the one that I discuss. And also what I get that will create the most. Sometimes I'm like, ooh, it's a close call. Which one's going to create more? This one. And then we go from there. But with the other aspect of being an ambassador, in addition to taking the class and having these conversations, is for you to actually be a walking model of living your way. And for each of us, it's really different. Like living my way exuberantly and enthusiastically, even with all of the crap going on and the insanity and the moments, because there've definitely been like moments lately. Oh my goodness. It's going to look different for me than for each and every one of you. And when we're willing to actually keep leaning into that and asking questions and creating our lives in a very present way with our bodies, man, that really invites anyone that we interact with, be it online or in person, to have that little like, ooh, that's a little peek to something. Maybe I can have that too. And it's not going to look the same for them either, but it's like, ooh, there's something to that. There's a vibration there that makes me kind of go, And how about if we could have more people around the world go, So that's the other aspect of it, of being an ambassador. And it's an energetic ambassador. So a lot of times, yes, it's still willing to have these conversations, but it's also willing to be this energy in the world, walking and talking or not talking. And but really the first and foremost is being it for yourself. And then that makes it a lot easier and way more fun to invite people to that their way. Okay. So somebody was asking about that. It's like, what is that ambassador thing? What does that mean? And then on top of that, it allows you to charge for sessions and give this body process sessions, be it samples or full sessions, to anybody you'd like. And it really builds up your awareness of these elements of living, of how all the different infinite ways that this can show up and contribute to people. Please, please, please run this on yourself. Please run this on yourself. Don't wait to have another body in the same physical space as you to run this. And in case you didn't get the update in our messenger group, finally, after the last class, because I've been asking, we've been doing classes for a year now. I've been asking. It's going to be a year in September, this upcoming month. It's kind of crazy. So thank you all for the ones that were in the first class and have been on this whole journey and preparing for the first class. But finally, after a year, we can now say, all right, people can choose the class if they have a partner or not in the same physical space as them. And I've been wanting to offer it that way from the beginning. It's just the body process in the class as an entity was like, nope, not yet. Nope. I was like, okay, but nope. And now it's like, yeah. And we're like, yeah. So it's like, let's do it. And I think that that's going to be huge for people because so many people have been interested from the beginning, and their only obstacle, the only thing that prevented them from being able to participate with ease, because we'd like them to participate in the class so that their bodies have ease with it, is they were waiting on a partner or access to a partner because they were having quarantine issues or, different other health stuff going on with their world, or their kids are in their household, but the kids are like, no, I don't want to. And so you can't force them. They get to choose too. But very, very glad that this is a possibility. And we do have our next class. It's going to be on November 13th. That's the full one day. And then the follow-up will be November 30th. And so we're opening it up to a little bit more. It's still going to be an intimate class, but max 20 people instead of 10 people. And I'm really curious. I think that there's something about like the combination of singles versus pairings, that there's something there with that. But either way, I asked the class and the body process and the earth and my body, and it was like 20. And as soon as like more, it was like, it's even right now. I was like, more than 20. I was like, so honoring that awareness, and we'll see what it creates. Because man, have we created a lot so far. I'm very, very pleased. And yet I know more is possible. And I think you guys get that too. I'd love to open it up to any questions that those that are here on live have, anything that's coming up for you, any aha moments as you've been running this body process on yourself for other people. And then we also have, like I mentioned earlier, questions that were sent in, and I'll address those as well. So anybody here that's on live will have any questions or things that have shown up for them since any time it'll last forever with this. Okay. And if something comes up later on, just let me know. I'm going to take a sip of this tea. I'd love to share a moment I had last night, actually earlier this morning, because it was after 1 o'clock in the morning, and it is noon for me here. So very recent. I was called at 12:45 after midnight to a rape crisis center case. And you know that many of you guys know that I volunteer with them, and I'm an advocate, and I'm present with the survivors as they're getting examined and interviewed and things like that. And it's so funny. I'm going to acknowledge Seventeen. 17 gave me this amazing session of the living dying body process last week. Was it 17? It was like, feels like 2 weeks ago already. But so if you haven't had a session and swapped with 17 yet, definitely do that. Amazing. Up and unlocks a lot of stuff. I think I've gotten to swap with at least half of y'all. Anybody who hasn't swapped with me recently or hasn't swapped with me yet, please come, like, send me a message privately, directly, so we can do that, because I love swapping with all the ambassadors. It's really fun. But in that session, and definitely in this moment with the survivor this morning, the dancing bones showed up, which is one of the archetypes that I haven't really gotten to talk about much. Maybe it came up a little bit in one of the magical art tasters, which is when we used art and movement and to talk about these hidden figures and these archetypes of living and dying. And if anybody wants the replays of those, we did 2 of them, let me know. I can send you the information directly. But how it showed up, it always shows up differently, which I love. So this young woman had been raped, and just, it was really fucked up because it was also her first time. She was a virgin. And we talked about how she gets to choose what she counts as her first time. Like, right away, I was like, she needs to hear this, because I was like, what's going to open the door? I talked with a door opener energy. And I was like, what is going to open the door to create more for her? And this is one of the questions you can ask with the door opener archetype. And what is required to close the doors that's going to create more? And it was all in that statement. I just said simply, I was like, you get to choose what's going to be your first time, what you're going to count as your first time. And you could see in her world, like, I actually heard, like, in my head, the door closing to her being like, oh, well, this is going to be my story. This is my first time, and and it's going to be awful, and how's it going to affect the rest of my sexual experience? And you just, in the speed of it, just like, and I was like, and closing that door. And then there was this quiet, this like hush. And her sister was there with her, keeping her company, supporting her. And then the nurse, it was just the 4 of us. And I was like, you get to decide who you're going to honor with that gift in the future, and who you're going to be saying that this is truly my first time, when you were consenting, when you're really choosing it, when you're enthusiastic about it. You get to make that call. And which is also one of the archetypes, the call, but that's a whole, it's going to be a distraction for me to talk about it right now. And then we go, and she's like, thank you so much. Yeah, because I was really concerned about it, and I can't even really take it in totally right now, but I hear you. And I was telling her how there's so many things I told her, but a lot of it was just me being this energy of the door opener with her while she was being interviewed. I mean, we have to ask so many detailed questions so that we know what evidence to collect and things like that. And she was talking really, really fast. She kind of reminded me of me, like, where I have to like consciously choose and not talk so fast all the time. And as she was getting the story out and the whole experience, you could see that each time it kind of was getting easier. She'd already spoken to like 3-4 people before us. So fast forward, how does the magic bone show up, right? So we're going and we're doing the exam, and I hear like a click, 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 click. I was like, what is this sound? What is it? And it's funny because I don't know if it was that way or a different way that showed up when I was getting a session from 17, but it was this like sound. And then we sort of got to that and to the shuffle the cards, which is the discussion we had today. But for her, it was very much not the shuffle the cards yet. It was started with magic bones and the dancing bones. And she's getting examined, and I'm guiding her through just breathing, because she's really tightening up and clenching her teeth, and that makes it much more difficult on multiple levels. And I'm doing deep breathing with her. And then she says, and this is right after I hear, she says, could someone tell me a funny story, please? And I was like, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. I can come up with one. And the first one that came up, and my mom's, here, Swinma's here. The first thing that came into my mind is I told her, I don't know why this is the story that's coming up, but this is the story that's coming up. And I proceeded to tell her about this time where I had one of my first slumber parties. I think I was like 11, something like that. No, I must have been like way younger than that, maybe like 9 or 10. And my brother had just come out of the shower. And it took him so long to even get him in the shower. It was like a fight. But then as soon as he was in there, he didn't want to get out. So he like used up all the water, whatever. And here I am hanging out with my 2 gal pals at the slumber party. I was really excited. And he comes out with a towel wrapped around his waist. And he's like, hey, and he whips off his towel and he swings it around over his head. And he's like shaking his butt and he's shaking his goods in front of all of us. And I am mortified. Like, I don't really embarrass easily. Even back then when I had a lot lower of a self-esteem, but I was horrified. I was like, oh my God, and we're all screaming and he's just having a ball, right? And so I'm doing this dance like this like as if I have this towel over my head. And the survivor, she's cracking up, right? She's busting out laughing. She's like, oh my God, that is so funny. I can totally picture it. And my brother at the time, he was skin and bones. He was basically like, he's very skinny. He had the body of like my mom's side of the family at that time. Now he's like really buff and muscular and goes to the gym and like he's like super tall, like 6'2" and whatever. And but I still, when I think of my brother, I still think of him like that in a lot of ways in my head. And then I see him and I'm like, not him naked, but him with that skinny bones, right? And it totally, the dancing bones, like anytime she would clench up and start not paying attention to her breathing, I was like, don't you, hey, I will dance. I will do my dancing bones dance right now. I will shake my butt at you. And she's like, okay. And she started laughing and she would relax again. And it was me being willing to be this dancing bones energy with her to create more, to get her to laugh, to remind her, because part of what the dancing bones is about is you'd think bones dancing is death and oh my gosh, and the skeletons and like they, at the under Paris, they have all of the oh, what is it in my head? I'm thinking of it with a C. All
Catacomb.
The catacombs. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. And I loved visiting the catacombs because for me it was fascinating and I was like, I wanted to know where everyone was in the faces and I wanted to acknowledge all these people that had been buried there that maybe never got to be heard and acknowledged. And that's just one of my things with visiting cemeteries and catacombs like that. And I love doing it. And the whispers, I can still hear if I want, I can still recall the whispers of the wind going through the catacombs and all these messages that those skulls had. And in those moments when you've experienced trauma, when you've been in an accident, when someone has died, and where there's this ending, and there was very much an ending to her quote unquote innocence, to her virginity in her world, to what she thought was going to be her relationship with her body up until that moment. There was something that she let go of, many things that she let go of. And yet the dancing bones invites us all, if we're willing to be that energy and activate those energies within us, it can bring joy in those transitions and invite us to like not mourn that letting go as much. So she was able to be like, oh, this is just what happened to me and this isn't going to be this defining moment in my life, and let me laugh anyway and let me ask for what I need. And so I was super proud of her because there's so many people, adults that, way older than her, that hadn't even experienced, let's say, a trauma like she had, that aren't willing to ask for what they need or what's going to create more. And she was, in that moment, she was being examined, not to be too graphic, but like legs wide open, really like, what am I doing? What's going on here? And she was like, someone make me laugh. who has this funny story? And then we all went on and started, and then you could see everyone as we, everyone as in me, the nurse, and her, we started sharing all these different funny stories, and our bodies moved differently while we were talking. It wasn't just the towel. After that, there was other stories that helped us move our bodies as well to unlock whatever was stuck there that was bringing up for us. And this was just a conversation. And yet I know that I was activating the energies of this body process while also co-creating with the archetype of dancing bones and the door opener and all these other ones, while being there for her and being space with her. So I get that this might be relevant to some of you, maybe not you directly, but people that you're interacting with. And what if you are actually willing to be this dancing bones energy that you already have? All of these elements of living we have as our repertoire. It's about actually being aware of them more and consciously choosing to create with them. So what does this bring up for you all? And I also see that there's a comment in the chat. Okay, cool. So it was my ex-partner actually brought back 2 to 3 of my stuff from the house he was renovating that you saw on the screen, or that was reminding you of the catacombs. Dancing bones is back in my life, kind of this morning, but protecting me from seeing my ex-partner at the same time as I was out when he came. Beautiful. So you didn't have to deal with him, interact with him, but you got some of your stuff. Yes, yes, yes. And that's funny. I forgot until you reminded me that when I saw those pictures of the under part of the house, it did remind me of the catacombs. That's right. I forgot until you mentioned it. There's so much buried there. There's so much buried there.
There was. And because we were working with the stones, and you're removing some layers and you're going deep down. And yeah, that's an old house that is close to the sea. So there were sailors, a whole story around sailors that is there. So
and
yeah,
then the
and
gravedigger was there too. Because I remember in one of our previous classes, we talked about the gravedigger in connection with that. And like things that were buried there, be it from his family and also from your relationship, and then from anyone who'd ever lived there before. So wow.
Yeah, there's the energy of death and dying that is around, and I was just, okay, what's the message here? What do I? Because he really just brought some my son hats, so I don't have to buy a new one, because I was just, I have to buy a new one, but this one was okay. Why that? And just 1 or 2 other things, so not that much. Well, actually, there was this small book that I love that is the River Backward.
I haven't heard of that one.
It's a book that kids can read from around 10 or 11 years old. It's from a French author. I'll share the title in French. I'm not sure it's translated in other languages, but so it's the story of a girl that is going for a teenager, probably going for researching this river that is going backward to bring her bird alive again. And there's a whole adventure. And there is 2 books. There is one from the point of view of the boy that is being in love, falling in love with her, and so that's her journey to find her. And there's the travel from, and the other book is from the point of view of the girl.
Is it like back to back? Like I love those when you just like flip the book and it's the other perspective. It's 2 separate books.
Separate, and they are very thin. So he brought me that back, and so there is still this energy of living and dying, and of eternal youth, and the eternal memory of something, and still you are transformed by the journey that you had. And I just, oh fuck, what's going on in my life right now?
Yeah. Please put that resource in the private Facebook group in addition to the messenger group, But definitely for the private group, because I think that it'd be a really great resource for future um, ambassadors as well. And big welcome to Shauna and Ashana, our newest ambassadors. You know, my grandmother is also been in the class now, but she's not in our group. She's busy with other things. And so that was really cool to have her in there. Just been really lovely to be able to contribute to my family with this. One, for just being this energy more and activating it within me, and please do that for yourself and for your families. But then also when you get to like give these sessions to your family members and swap with them, man, does it come up with a lot of stuff. Because think about everywhere that you've been living and dying with these families members over how many different lives, and you know, you might have been together in different combinations over different dimensions and realities, and then on top of that, even in just this life, when you like, there's some places where we are letting go and adding in new family members, like those moments of transition, like baptisms and communions and weddings and baby showers and all that, and then funerals as well, for sure. So it's a lot of times those are those moments where we see our family and we don't see them any other time. It's the birthdays, and then the whole year you don't see each other, you know, Christmas, things like that, or whatever other holidays you celebrate. Those are great things to activate in those moments of transition. Let me refer to some of my notes, because I put in where people sent in questions too. But if anybody else wants to chime in while I look for stuff, feel free. Yes, thank you for putting that book in the chat. Okay, so a reminder on remote sessions. So because there have been different questions about how to run remote, like, you know, if there's a difference between doing it in person or remote. There is a difference, but there's also not a difference. And so it's really powerful. It's very effective to give remote sessions. For some bodies, it's more intense and more effective in person, but I don't wait for them to be in person if I can't get them in person to receive, to give, to swap, to do a session. Like if their body's like, please, yesterday, don't wait until like, oh, well, you can't get here until a month from now, so let's put in the calendar like, okay, yeah, that time in person, and what about now? Please don't wait. Especially if their bodies are like screaming for this, and so many bodies are screaming for this. And I haven't had headaches in over a decade, and I've been having so many more headaches lately, and really acknowledging, and part of it is the volume has increased in the bodies asking for this. Also, I've been having to run the living and dying body process and a couple other of my tools on my jaw because of stress with my family, and me unconsciously, like when I'm sleeping, clenching my teeth, but also during like intensely pleasurable moments. So any intensity, I've been clenching my jaw and having to massage my jaw and run the things on there, like including like orgasms. Like I don't usually clench my jaw during orgasms, but lately I've been doing that. It's been super intense, which is awesome. And what if I didn't clench my jaw and have to then undo that impact on my body and in my mouth? And because that'll create some tension headaches sometimes. It certainly has been for me. But the other piece, like I was mentioning earlier, is the bodies are like, when is the next class? When is the next session? Come on, like, let's go. And then these conversations, even if people aren't commenting below, there's so many views and so much engagement with these elements of living videos. Please, as ambassadors, please do a little comment or something to contribute to the energy of these videos if you haven't already done so. Your ahas, what resonates with you. It invites other people to know it's okay to comment. So I really would appreciate it if you could add that your voice in to the discussion. But man, because of these discussions, and it's finally time for us to talk about these hidden figures even more. People are really enjoying it, and it's making it that their bodies are like, oh my gosh, when, oh my gosh, oh, it's here, it's like, oh, it's like you're finally willing to talk about this, you're finally willing to be aware of this, and it's queuing up more things in people's bodies, but they don't necessarily have a way to dissipate it and transmute it to pure energy. If they have other tools, cool. If they have, like, other body processes, other energetic tools, if they are acknowledging it and then choosing to let it go, like all these different things, great. But we have a lot of people in the group that they're new to energy. They're new to consciously being aware of energy. They've all aware of it. Everyone, energy's everywhere, right? So you guys get what I mean by that. But just know that if you're getting any new intensities in your body, this might be one of the ways that your body's telling you that it's aware of other bodies, things going on, and it's increasing. And so as soon as I acknowledge it, it goes away. It doesn't last very long. But because I've been so used to not having any pain, like ever anymore, after so many years of pain, when it's even like a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes, it feels like an eternity because I'm like, this is not my normal anymore. What is happening? Like, ooh. So I invite each and every one of you, this has been showing up for you to consider this and actually activate even more consciously some of these archetypes. That's why I'm bringing it up, so that you, especially since you have taken the class, you have a way of dissipating it while you're acknowledging that they're showing up. The other thing with the dancing bones for today, that it seems to be the one that wants to be talked about today the most, is when you're hearing skeletal changes, like some of you who do body work, like you do chiropractic or massage, you'll sometimes hear the bones click into place again, like, and have proper alignment, or after you've receiving actual traction, let alone the energetic traction that's a part of our body process, you'll kind of hear the click, 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 click of it being like, oh, that just happened. Like even right now, I just went like this and my spine went, that's the dancing bones as well. So if you would like some more ease with the skeletal and musculoskeletal system, this might be a wonderful element of living to create with, okay? In the chat, we have a comment. It says, about the dancing bones, now I'm getting how much the juvenile arthritis that my 12-year-old niece can be related to these archetypes. Yes, absolutely. It doesn't matter what age they are, any skeletal things going on, it could really be beneficial. There's a couple other elements of living that really ramp up the changes with the skeletal system, but this is the one that's asking to be discussed the most today, and it's a good one to start off with. And you can, for some of you, it's about combining it with the door openers, so you can actually open the door to more, but close the door to the stuff that, like the stories of having pain, of okay, all of those habits and the cycles of the pain or the trauma, or like, oh, it only lasts for this long when I get an adjustment. Well, what if it lasted, period, it was done. I've been going to the chiropractor a lot less frequently. I honestly get that I probably won't need to be going much longer, but it's been a nice way to start some of my Fridays. I go on Fridays every other Friday. And I've been going since I was thrown off of the horse in November. And the chiropractor's like, you're good to go back on a horse. You're good. You're line enough for that. Like I probably am doing better now than before I was on the horse, because I already had like a slight misalignment in my spine from past car accidents and things like that. My body's still saying to go and continue for right now. But one of the things that has shown up is I had the session with Severin Wednesday, I had a swap with somebody else Thursday, and then I had the chiropractic session Friday morning. And he was like, you're only like a quarter inch off now. Well, I was an inch and a quarter off in alignment back in November. And maybe, yeah, at least that, if not more. So really, really powerful stuff that can happen with this. In the chat, I'm doing SC also on the body structure and facelift. Yes, facelift is another one. The Access Consciousness Energetic Facelift, phenomenal. I've been doing that one as well. It's been really helpful for like the chest upward for me, but ask your body where it would like any of these. and go and follow your awareness of that. And for my niece, there are several elements related to inflammation, especially the medication is weakening the liver. So did you have a question about that?
I wonder what is the, okay, I'm going to say the word that I'm perceiving. It's archetypes that are uncovered yet, or that are related maybe to fire. Maybe it's like related to dragons or something, that is, you know, the dragon bones or something.
The one that pops, and I thought maybe we talked about this with your niece before, but so forgive me if I'm repeating myself. But it definitely seems relevant to her and to anyone that has inflammation right now. And you know, my mom and I work very closely with holistic physicians, and one of the biggest things we work on is inflammation, and helping people actually reduce inflammation anywhere in their body, because it's the precursor to most diseases. And one of the archetypes and elements of living that's with that is the blood mage. The blood mage is huge with it, because inflammation is what, you know, like think about the connection between that and blood. And so if you're willing to actually be a blood mage, be aware of where blood is flowing, where it's not, where it's kind of accumulating too much, where it needs to be rerouted in different ways, you can really do some beautiful changes with inflammation. And we were both actually talking about how for both of us, our knees and legs have been feeling more inflamed in the last week. And so in addition to the natural remedies that we provide for people and that we take ourselves, I was running the living and dying body process on myself. I received it from you, the dancing bones with the skeletal tissue, the muscular skeletal stuff, because it was around the knees and those joints. But then also with the blood mage, it moved the circulation, because I was getting like numbness in my hands. I was getting numbness in my feet. And that's often a sign of not just poor circulation, but that there's inflammation somewhere else, right? So these are all connected together. And I think that that's something that's relevant to your niece with this. That's one of the ones that are pinging. And then where is the other one? There was the other one that was pinging. Oh, the hearth. And this actually came, and I'd like to acknowledge Imran for this. You know, I don't know how long ago we talked about this with Caroline Morris, but he was talking about how the classes and how the fantastical creature play space and you know, the expansive energies groups and all these different things that we create, that we're providing a haven for people. We're bringing them and inviting them to come to the hearth again, to come home again. And that's what that is. And so there's this energy of her actually wanting a different type of home environment, and her awareness of that, but her not knowing exactly how to create a different home environment. And so what if she could actually have a sense of home with her body, no matter what's going on in the physical space that is her home environment? And this is relevant to all of us. Man, is it super relevant to all of us.
So it's the earth as an archetype, right?
Hearth. I'm going to write it in the, it's with
an
H.
H. Okay, yes. Le foyer. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, yes. So it's earth and heart at the same time.
It's in there. Yeah, because if you're have a conflict with the earth and you being on this planet, it's a lot harder for you to have a sense of home, be it on this planet and with your body, because your physical body is also connected with the earth body. So it's all in there. It's all in there. Yes, great awareness. And so her actually doing activities, even if it's small, because for a lot of kids with juvenile arthritis and even juvenile other conditions, they're told, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, this is going to aggravate this, and it's everything that they can't do. And not what can they do. And even these small movements of acknowledging her being a hearth and having a home with her body can start moving the blood in a different way.
Yeah, she's having a heart, like she used to love drawing, and now she's not able anymore to really hold the pen correctly, so she has a hard time to do something like this. So I
Mhm.
was offering her, maybe you could paint, because you can hold the pencil a different, your brush a different
Or
way. It doesn't matter.
fingerprinting or the digital stuff where you use the
Yeah.
finger like a pencil.
Yeah,
You
and
don't have
that's
to do this fine motor movement.
and she's very like a perfectionist. Like I remember when she was drawing, it was no, it's not good enough, and she was doing again and again. It was never enough, and the massive gaslighting of herself through this exigence of perfection, and now she can't even do that anymore because she can't draw anymore, and there's many things that she cannot do anymore unless it's just using her tablet, for example. So even moving is difficult. So she feels, I think there's a kind of a trap here, energy, that is
Mhm.
quite of a challenge for her.
And there isn't, it's interesting you bring up the gaslighting because that's exactly one of the ways that it can show up when you use the hearth element of living and an awareness of it against yourself. Light, there's a light in a fireplace in a home, right? That's one of the symbols of, there's the candle in the window, all these different things of a home. Well, the gaslighting has the word light in it, and you're throwing the fire and you're burning up yourself. You're disappearing within the gaslighting. And so you start disappearing and disintegrating your sense of home and sense of stability and security and nurturing. And it's tricky because just like everyone, she gets to choose when she decides to pivot away from that story and when she decides to not. She might have to have it a lot harder before she realizes, okay, I need to change to something else. But one of the things that I find really powerful with kids, especially adolescents, is using the examples of other kids. When it's an adult, it's like, meh, 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 you're an adult, blah, 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 whatever, whatever. But so I find different YouTube videos of other kids that are creating different limitations or that are working hard behind it, or that they had a difficulty or an obstacle and they've out created it. And there's a ton of artistic kids out there and they're doing all these different videos, all different kinds of art. Like for her, it might be moving to ceramics where you don't need to have as much of the fine motor movements, and you move this and you use the utensils in different ways, or the clay stuff like that.
Yeah, and they are not in the family. I mean, on my side, I was the only one going for, okay, let's go wild. Who cares? There's clay everywhere
Yeah,
or paint everywhere.
there's so
But
many mediums she could use.
on
Yeah.
on the side of, like, from my sister's side, they
Mm-hmm.
are like a bit, no, we don't put things everywhere. I don't like putting my fingers in the paint. That's just,
So they're not willing
so
to get messy.
no, no, it's in control, and the level of self-doubt is huge.
Right.
And that's crazy. I'm just, but that's just painting. That's okay.
Yeah,
So,
it's just
but
what we can have
I
fun with
should
it.
look for videos of kids. I don't know if we have that much in French, so maybe I could. I don't
But
know. I
because it's
wonder.
visual arts, it might not matter if what language it's in. It's just
Yeah,
about
yeah,
seeing, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. It's more about looking for the resources. So I will find.
yeah. And if I see any that ping, because there's always, as soon as, like, I feel like as soon as we're bringing this up, it's going to show up in my feed or something like that. I'll send some your way. I definitely have a lot related to painting. I would love, I'm getting that it's actually more about ceramics and something's shifting her way, because even painting, yes, you can grip it differently, but since she's rigid about this fine motor and the having the tripod grip, it's about even, it's just, there's too close of a reference point to what she used to do. We need to have it completely different. And then she can always walk her way back to that and apply it to the things that she used to do if she would like to at that moment.
Yeah, yeah, because she's also, starting to lose the hair because of the treatment, because it's a treatment you can give like chemo and so on. So
Mm-hmm.
imagine the level of her body is not her friend for now.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. All of that, all of that. So everything that brought up, let's transmute it down to pure energy for all of us and for her. And expand out, expand out, expand out. And anything that doesn't allow you to co-create and perceive all the ways that you are these elements of living your way, and for you to create with them with infinite ease. Let's go ahead and transmute that down to pure energy. And expand out, expand out, expand out. And let's actually be the energy of what's home for us together, our individual homes as in our bodies, and then also what we know about the home that is the earth and this planet. And let's be it even louder and clearer together. And don't forget to breathe. Okay, great. And now let's actually expand that to every cell of our bodies. Let's expand it out and send it out in all directions. Shine it bright in every direction to anyone that's asking for this. Those that we know, those that we haven't met yet, anywhere in the world. This knowing of what home could be like for each person. And again, even more, having it just marinate and be with every cell of your body. Shine it up, shine it up. And send it out, send it out. Make sure you're also sending it to your past self, to anywhere in your past where you were looking for a sense of home, where you didn't have a sense of belonging. Where you were the weirdo, the black sheep, the odd person out, and made yourself wrong or were made wrong for that. Beautiful adjustment, and even more past, present, and future to the sides, up and down. And then what is your body asking for that would nurture it and give it an even greater sense of hearth and home, a greater sense of nurturing, and that it's actually welcomed and heard and seen on this planet. Let's open the door to more of that. Hello, door openers. Ah. And are you willing to close the door to all of those stories, to all of that judgment of you as the weirdo, the pervert, the black sheep, the different, all of that? Everywhere that you were made wrong for that, please close the door to any impact that continues to have on you and your body, on your reality, on your choices, and anything that doesn't allow that. Let's transmute it down to pure energy. And expand out, expand out. Expand out. When you're having a remote session, we're having a remote meeting right now. You're going to ask for all of the people's bodies to be here with you in the physical space. Do you perceive that we're actually in the same physical space, even though we're all connecting on Zoom right now? Does it feel like I'm so far away on the other side of the planet, or am I actually a lot closer than maybe some of the people in the same building or in the same city that you're in? You see, this is what's possible. And if you need me to knock on your door, ding, 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 at any point to remind you that there actually isn't separation, just let me know in any given moment. So that's the key to having dynamic remote sessions, is to invite your body to be in their space, their body to be in your space, as in same physical space. You're not going to go into their reality, but you'll be aware of their reality. You ramp up your connection with your body and the earth, this energy of hearth, all right, this element of living. And then you have conversations. You have a bit of chat. You ask the body process, you ask their body, hey, is it time to start this one, this movement, yes or no? When it is a yes, you go. When they're done, you ask about the next one. Is it time for this one, yes or no? When you get a yes, go and do that next movement, and so forth and so on. And if it's like, I'm done after the first two movements, then you're done after the first two movements. If they want to continue, you keep going. If you have the time to. If not, you ask more questions. It's okay, when is it time to finish this? It's just a conversation. But in these conversations, we get to rewrite the story. We get to truly write the story, like consciously write the way that we'd like to about our lives. We get to be the weavers of our stories. And in that, ask for what we'd really like to have as our lives. And in that asking, it starts showing up faster and easier. So I'm going to be the weaver energy with you in your bodies right now. And what would you like to ask for that maybe you've never asked for before, or that is already showing up and you'd like more of? And take a moment and acknowledge that for yourself. And just notice as I ramp up the weaver element of living even more with my body and your bodies, how do you perceive this energy? What shows up in your awareness? And so anything that doesn't allow you to weave your story and create a phenomenal life, phenomenal business, a phenomenal partnership with your body, your way. Let's go ahead and transmute that down of your energy and expand out, expand out, expand out. So some asks clarity on where exactly to live and move, which professional activities would also work for me and support my life and living with infinite ease and joy. We had some sent in, some requests, just clarity on how to actually use these different tools. Because all of us have all these different experiences and tools and trainings. It's like, how do I use all of this and know clearly which one it's time for and which one it's not time for? Which is the one that's going to create more and which one is not? And this door opener question that I've brought up before is a great one for that. I'm like, all right, what's going to create more? What is going to open the door to create more? And sometimes it'll be one or two that pop into my mind or that I start playing around with. Sometimes it's almost all of them are like, all right, it's the choir of tools that show up. And that's one of the things that's been showing up really beautifully in the expansive energies groups that some of you are in them. Like you'll notice that it started off by one thing at a time. And then as people are willing to actually create something different, there'll been different pairings that have been showing up more and more. And it's only the pairings that will create more. Because some things can't work together, it kind of will dial down the other ones. But if you're willing to be like, well, what is the magic combination, the concoction? You know, Savine and I were talking about concoctions and elixirs this week as well. And there is this with energies too. It's like there's a different concoction and elixir that will expand things. But it really takes a willingness to not have it be only one thing at a time. And for you to really not have these separations between all of the things, all these energies and tools in your arsenal. A lot of us will put them in these different boxes. And I think that that's one of the things that makes the Academy for the Seen and Unseen very different. And what makes our groups and classes really different is we just blow all of that out. Where it's like, borders, what? Separation? Bye. Next, take that shit somewhere else. It's like, that's not relevant to us. Okay. Hopefully that addressed the questions. Let me see, there's another. Okay. Yes, I want to make sure to mention that we have a Are You Living and Dying with Business class coming up, and it'll be September 20th. We're working out the time. I believe it'll be 6 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. New York time. And if there's interest in more, we might do some other ones, but this is something that has been calling for a bit to be discussed as to how we can use these tools for business specifically, including the business of living. But there's a lot of people that with all of the changes with the pandemic, their money sources and business flows and they've had to completely change how they do business. And how do you do that with clarity? How do you do that with actually adding in the people that are willing to live with your business and add to your business and expand it, and those that you can count on, and then letting go of the people that for whatever reason maybe you can't rely on, or it's by them being there with your business, it doesn't actually create more. It doesn't actually open doors to greater possibilities. And so we're going to be talking about the different tools about with the living and dying body process with that, including some of the elements of living that are particularly good for working and doing business. I'm very curious to see which ones will show up to play with, because I get that almost all of them could be, but it really depends on the people who join the class and what's going on with them in business as to which ones will come to the foreground. So I can send y'all the information for that and be on the lookout for it. It'll be probably sent out in the next week or two, but save the date for September 20th, 6 p.m. New York. And is there any other questions or anything else that y'all would like to bring up before we part ways today? Okay, hopefully this was helpful. Would you all like to kind of gather together like this on a regular basis, like maybe once a quarter to check in, or a different kind of frequency with the other ambassadors? Is this, yeah, you like this? Okay, cool. We can do that. And so I'll keep you posted on another one. We'll do a pop-up just like we did in the messenger group. I'm like, okay, these are the times available and these are the dates you vote. But most people who mention and comment on something, that's when we do, and then we still send the replay later. And then please remember that if you would like to participate in the upcoming awakening class, the living and dying body process class on November 13th, that as current ambassadors, you get the half price. So you get your special link. If you need me to resend you the special link, feel free to message me directly about that. And it's first come, first serve, because we are going to be capping it at the 20 participants. But hopefully I'll see some of y'all there. And even between now and then, I would love to swap with you. I'm going to reiterate. This is really what's keeping me vertical and sane right now. So I would really appreciate it if we could schedule a swap. And please give yourselves big hugs from me. Take care of yourselves and use these energies that you have at your disposal. They're there for you, and they're really make things a lot easier. So do what works and makes things easier. All right. Bye for now, everyone.